Okay, so in our previous class, we looked at real-time applications with WebSocket. And today we'll be looking at real-time applications with Socket.io and how Socket.io simplify WebSocket. And then we'll be building a minimalist Socket.io application. From there, we can take a look at how we can create a Socket.io server with Express and then connect a client to the server and then make requests. They will create a simple chat application where a user will, like kind of a login, the user will add their username and then chat. But if there's no username provided, they won't be allowed to contribute to the chat room. So without wasting time, let's look at some things here. I think I've prepared docs here. And this is in the document in the Socket.io directory. If you come to KodeCamp 3, our repo here, you come to Socket.io here. And then you click on docs.nd. Okay, so we're here, and the first on the list is what is Socket.io. Socket.io is, let's say, it's a superset of WebSocket. So they have a kind of similarities, but then let's look at what Socket.io is. Socket.io is a JavaScript library for building real-time web applications. It provides a full-featured and efficient way to enable real-time bi-directional communication between clients. That is typically web browsers and then a server. So Socket.io is commonly used for applications that require real-time features such as chat applications, online gaming, collaborative tools, and live data updates, as previously discussed in our WebSocket class. So Socket.io is similar to WebSocket. In fact, it's a superset of WebSocket. And below are some key characteristics of and features of Socket.io. And then number one X-tick is real-time communication. Socket.io enables real-time communication by establishing a persistent connection between the client and the server. This is contrast to traditional HTTP, which is request response based and doesn't maintain a continuous connection. That means Socket.io connection is keep alive. Once it's established, it is keep alive. You can, it's not like a HTTP request where you send a request and then the server send back a response. This one is a kind of a full duplex communication where the server and the client can send messages simultaneously or responses without sending a request. So once the first request is sent, then the WebSocket communication will be initiated and responses can be sent to and fro from the client to the server to the client. So WebSocket support. Socket.io uses WebSocket as its primary transport protocol when available. WebSocket is a communication protocol that allows for low latency, full duplex communication over a single long-lived connection. As you can see, I mentioned something about Socket.io being similar to WebSocket, and here it says Socket.io uses WebSocket as its primary transport protocol when it's available. Okay, so we look at this in a second. Why did we say when it's available? So fallback mechanism. Socket.io is designed to work seamlessly across a variety of environments and networks. It's polling and other transport options in cases where so that is where Socket.io comes. Socket.io comes in where it's not supported. Sure, it's the same thing as WebSocket also use event-driven clients and servers can emit events and receive data in structured way. For example, you can emit a message to the server, and the server and will be emitting that in in the application. Send message to our so rooms and namespaces. Number 5, Socket IO allows you to organize client into rooms and namespaces. Similar to applications like with WhatsApp, Facebook, where you can have groups and you can have private messages on groups. So it organizes clients into rooms and namespaces. Rooms are useful for grouping clients who share a common interest, such as users in a specific chat room. Namespaces allow you to create separate communication channels with a single socket IO server. And this sounds interesting. So with socket IO, you can do a whole lot of things. You can build your own Facebook, you can build your own WhatsApp. Okay, bidirectional communication. Socket IO allows data to be sent in both directions, from the client to the server and vice versa. At any time, this is particularly useful for applications that require immediate updates or user interactions, like video streaming or chat applications or gaming applications also. All of these are built with Socket IO. So cross-browser compatibility. Socket IO is designed to work across various web browsers and provides a unified API for real-time communication, abstracting the difference between browsers, WebSocket implementation. And then the client libraries. The most interesting part is Socket IO provides client libraries for various platforms and frameworks, making it easy to integrate real-time features into web, mobile, and desktop applications. That's great. In server libraries, it also has server libraries for popular backends such as NodeJs, Python, and Java, allowing developers to implement real-time features in their preferred programming language. Scalability can be used in combination with load balancers and scalable infrastructure to support large number of concurrent connections and maintain performance in application with high traffic. So as you can see, Socket is a superset of WebSocket because most of these things cannot be achieved with just WebSocket. So that's great. So how Socket IO simplifies WebSocket? Socket IO simplifies WebSocket communication by providing a higher level abstraction and additional features that make real-time communication easier to implement and more robust. And below is how Socket IO simplifies WebSocket. Fallback mechanisms, the unified API, event-driven communication, built-in features, automatic reconnection, client libraries, middleware support, cross-browser compatibility, scalability, community, and documentation. And this community and documentation here, I think that is the most interesting part to me. Socket IO has a strong community and extensive documentation, making it easier for developers to find resources, tutorials, and support when building real-time applications. Then we have cross-browser compatibility. Middleware support. Socket can be integrated with middleware frameworks like Express in the NodeJs ecosystem. This allows you to incorporate real-time features into existing applications seamlessly. That's great. So now that we know and can see how Socket IO simplifies WebSocket, I think we should go ahead and practicalize things. We should just build a simple chat application with Socket IO and see how it works. So first of all, I think I already added a folder in here. This is the docs. Okay, I added the docs in the Socket IO folder. And inside of this folder, we create, we initiate a package JSON, an empty package JSON file, npm init-y. npm init -y, and then we'll do something like, oh, it's like we initiated it outside of the package.json, so we should just remove it. Oh, we had one there already. Okay, so let's just cd into web socket IO. Okay, we're in the socket IO directory now. So what we do now is we see npm init-y. So we have the package.json in our socket IO directory. And inside of this package.json, say type is module. And we'll go ahead and install some packages like, first of all, install NodeMon or server, the development dependency. Okay, so we've installed NodeMon. So let's install Express and Socket IO. So npmi Express and Socket IO. I think it's socket.io, something like this. Let's see. So while that is installing, let's create a source. Let's create a public folder here, public. And let's create a source folder, src. Okay, this is done installing. Let's clear our terminal. Then close this file. Not yet. We'll say our start command should be start nodemon src /index.js, like so. Okay, so we'll come back to and let's change this name here to server. Okay, let's leave it as socket.io. Come down here and create an index.js file. This for our server, index.js. And in the public folder, we create an index.html. And then we populate this index.html file. Then we change the title here to socket.io. In the body, we do something like h1 socket.io. Okay, so let's go live with this HTML file and see what we've got. Okay, socket.io, that's great. It's working as expected. The file is there. Let's go back to our editor. And in here, what we want to do is we first of all want to set up our server and then be able to serve static files using Express. So inside our index.js, we import Express from Express. And inside of Express, after Express, we import HTTP from node HTTP. We also import let's just call it socket.io from socket.io, like this. So now what we want to do is we'll first of all create an Express app, the instance of an Express app, and then we create a server that will serve us. They will attach this Express app to this server so that we can create we can have a close interaction with our server. You understand? What this does is we don't want to only use our Express app, because there are some things we need to interact with our server closely. So we have to create an HTTP server that will also work with our Express application. So what we do here, we'll say const app is equal to Express, like so. And we say const server is equal to HTTP create server. And then we pass in our app like this. I mean, we are serving our app. We are using this server to serve our Express application. So we say const IO is equal to new server. This should just be server from socket IO server. New server. And we pass in our server. The server we just created with the HTTP module. Instead of saying server and then a handler of request response log server running on port 3000 or whatsoever, no, press and package, well, at the instance, then we're passing it in our server so we can use it together with our server with more control. We have more control over our server than using only Express. Like this. So what next do we want to do? We want to serve static files. Well, let's start. See, server listen. Let's say port 3000, and then giving pass in the callback function, the log server running on port 3000, like this. So we'll do something like npm run start. Node moon, like this. So we clear our terminal, then we run this once more. Kaboom! Server running on port 3000. That's awesome. Let's go back to our app. Our app is actually working. Then we'll see IO. We listen to an event, the connection event. There's connection with a callback handler, callback function here of this is socket. What we simply log is we log a user connected, like this. We log a user connected, and see, we listen to the disconnect event. We say socket on disconnect. Also taking callback function, log a user disconnected, like this. So now it's time to serve our HTML file. So how do we serve our HTML file? As we know, we do something like app, we use a router, an application level middleware app, use express static. Then we pass in our public folder. So let's go back to our browser and actually okay. our application is for having this message. Okay, nothing is being. Okay, and that's because we have not connected on our client. So in order to do that, in the HTML file and in the body, let's go documentation and then check out get IO documentation. Get started. Then you see how all this is done. Serving HTML. Okay, you're using this restant join directly HDX HTML. Okay. Integrating socket IO server. This is for the server, and this is for the index HTML. But what I love to do is copy this. We have a meeting event. You come down here and copy. What is this? Copy this. You can use a CDN instead of the local files. I don't want to use a local file. I'll just copy this CDN link here and then bring it to our app here. We'll create another script. Inside of this script, you say const IO, or you see const anything you love to call it. You can say client is equal to IO, like so. And this IO, you can pass in a URL. You can pass in. Let's assume we're not serving this file from our application. We're not serving it from the server. We can pass in the you can pass in HTTP /local host 3000 like this. And then you can be able to connect to your server successfully. But since we are serving this file from the server, there was our index HTML file, which will go live. But that's not what we want. Let's and then check our terminal. A user connected. This is actually working. So on the client, libraries like React or frameworks like Angular and Vue.js, you just install a package that will take care of this for you. But since we are using plain HTML, we have to include a CDN link that will take care of this for us. So we included this CDN link here and the user connected. So what I want to do is let's refresh this and see. Okay, we've refreshed it. And if you come down here, see a user disconnected, a user connected. The reason why, because if you refresh it while loading, it will disconnect. And after it's finished loading, it will connect again. So let's see. If you come back, if you come down here and then do away with this, come down here and check you see a user disconnected. Okay, let's go back and say localhost 3000. So that's finished loading. If you come down here, you see a user connected. Okay, that's great. So it's working as expected. And I think what we would love to do is to first of all build our server and then move to the client. So what we want to do on our server is we want to build a chat, a group, like a group chat. In here, in this connection block, after this, other events that will take place connected. First of all, let's see, user disconnect. I want to do something like they will impute in an input field is we want to take this username where they will display it on the client. Make sure this username is assigned to that username will appear, then the message will also appear. So how do we go about this? So first of all, we say let username, this is for the username functionality. Let username, they will listen to the username event, socket on username like this. That text in the callback, we see user that is coming from the client. And then what we do is we want to take this user and assign it to this username. We say username is equal to user. And not only that, now the username becomes the name of the user that's logged in. So what we want to do next is we want to emit this username. That's we want to send back the username to the client so that the client will display it on the UI. And the user will know, oh, this is my username and I'm logged in. So when you're not logged in, nothing will be displayed. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to say IO emit username event. We want to emit the username event, and we see how we can handle that on the client in a short while. So username event, and what we do is we want to send back the username, and that's all for this one. We want to send back the username. So I think let's just finish up with the server, then we'll move to the client. Okay, so after sending back the username, we also want, after they are logged in, this, if they enter a username, we send back the username, and on the client will detect that, oh, this user is logged in. So after they are logged in, what we want to do is we want them to start chatting. We want them to start contributing on in the group chat. So what we emit, we listen to a chat message event, and we also emit a chat message event. So how we're going to be taking care of this is we see socket, not docket, is socket on chat message to take in callback of let's say message like this. Okay, and what we want to do now is let's leave it as let's log socket ID. Let's just log the socket ID without emitting anything. Okay, so it's now time to move to the client and implement the client functionalities. And if you notice, the socket we are using to emit events and listen to events is this. Is that user that has just connected to application. Once it is connected, this function will return the user and the user's information and all the events we need that can be emitted. So this is for a specific user. So I think it's time to move to the client to wire up our HTML file. And on the client here, I want us to make it more fancy. So we'll move over to Tailwind CSS. In here, we type CDN. Enter. Inside of CDN, you can see this is the Tailwind CDN. Then we copy this thing like this. We bring it to our HTML file. Paste it here in the head. Paste it here. We want to design our form, every other thing. So inside of the body, we remove this H1, or we leave the H1 and we say we give it a class of let's say text for extra large. We see text center. We have a div here. This that we have a class. This is just UI. I think you don't have to be concerned with this, but you can still learn. Then we give it a maximum width of large. We'll make it MX02 so that everything will be centered. That is, the margin left and right will be O2. And BG select of 100. It's margin up and down 20 and padding of 6 like this. And inside of this div, we have a P element with a username like this, and then we have a span instead of this P element with an ID of let's say an ID of uname, that's the username, and we'll give this span a class. We see class text blue 500, just text blue 500. And that's all for the P element. Let's go down. We will need to have an H1 that says join chat, and inside of this H1 we'll give it a class of join chat. We have text XL MY6 and text center. As the text size should be extra large, margin up and down should be 6, and then the text should be centered aligned. And that's for the H1. We will need to have a form for the login. It's a form. Let's remove the action. I think we don't need the action. And this one will give it an ID of chat. Give it a class flex code. We'll give it a gap of 6. Each element in this form should have a gap of 6. And we have an input element in the form, type of text, with an ID, an ID of join chat, and a class of padding of 2, BG, rounded MD, BG white, and border black. Okay, then last thing in this form is an input with type of submit. The value should be join. I want to give it a class name of let's see, padding of 2, BG green 500, and make it around a little bit, rounded MD. Text should be white, and it should self-end. It should be justified self-end, like on the right hand side of the form. So what we want to do is and see what, and this, let me just drag it down. Okay, so let's refresh. Okay, so here is our username, but we don't have a username. Join, but for now, let's bring down that socket IO a bit, and let's make it empty of 12, empty margin top of 12. So we need to have another form. let's just copy this one here, copy everything here like this. We're not separating it, we're making it on the same page. We have this form, and this form here, I think we give it a title of chat like this. I should have an ID of form. Should be chat form or form altogether, and the input should have an ID of let's say chat input, and then chat form. This one should be chat form, and here instead of join, it should be a value of send, and in here it should be bg blue 500. And down below this form, we have an ordered list where we display our chat. And this unordered list, we have an ID of messages. We'll give it a class name of class my4 space y4 space y4 like this. And inside of this UL, we have an h1 messages with a class name of text center MB6. Okay, so today we're doing full stack. We're doing both front end and back end. I think you enjoy this. For those of you that knows nothing about the front end, I think this is an opportunity to learn something. Okay, so let's refresh and see what we've got. Refresh. Wow. So we have our form. The username is displaying nothing, and the socket IO here, that is the name of our application, and the username is displaying nothing. We have the join chat, we have the chat, there's nothing here. We have join here, we have send. And you know what, I think we should change this to button. I think I love buttons more. Button with the type of submit. Then remove this. We'll bring in send here. Now let's copy this over to this form. Here is join, let's send join with BG of green 500 like this. So let's refresh and see what we've got once more. Okay, still same thing. And here we're having a pointer instead of an arrow. That's what I want, a pointer, not an arrow. Okay, we have, I think this should have a border of black, border black, border black. Border and border. Yes, like this. This is more, and we can make a div to let's say drop shadow MD. Drop shadow MD, and try to refresh it. Okay, I think this is more appealing. Okay, so if we type something, and we need our form elements, our input elements to have a placeholders. You see placeholder, enter username, and here we have another placeholder of type a message like this. So let's come back here and then refresh. Yes, enter username, type a message. So any user who will visit our application, I need to type in a username. You type in a username, you join, and then you type in a message. This is not a good user experience. I think these two have to be on separate pages where user will have to join a chat, like type in a group chat name or something like that before trying to send messages. Okay, so now we want to first of all work on let's implement our chat functionality first before coming back to the join chat. So let's move to our HTML file in the VS Code, and inside of this script we have client is equal to IO, or let's say socket, so that to be uniform with what we have on the server, and we'll get a graph of exactly what we are doing. So here we see const, let's say chat form is equal to document get element by ID, and I think it's chat form. We cross-check that, and for the input, const chat input is equal to document get element by ID chat input, like so. What else do we need? Okay, that's it for now. I will say we want to actually add an event listener to this chat form. We say chat form add event listener, and this will be an event listener of submit. Then we pass in a callback function. Callback function with an event. And inside of this callback function, we say event prevent default. We don't want to submit the form once a user click the button. We want to do some checks before we submit this form. So what are the checks that we want to do? We want to say if there is a chat input value. If the chat input contains a value, but if it's empty, we don't want to submit this form. But if it contains a value, we want to emit an event. We want to say socket emit event, and we to say it is a chat message event. Inside of this, we want to event, and the event name is the chat message event, and the event value, what we want to send along with this chat message event is the chat input value. This. Then after sending it, we want to set the chat input value to an empty value, so that chat input value, we want to set it to an empty value so that you can enter message without having to clean everything in the input field before entering values. Okay, so let's go back to our clients now and then try something. Let's see. Hello. Okay, I think it's mistaking something. It's chat form and chat input, ID of chat form and chat input. So chat form add event listener submit. Let's refresh this. Hello. Okay, it's working as expected now. Let's view our console. Okay, now we can see the ID. Look at the sender of the sender's ID. So let's come back to our server. Let's also log sender ID. Let's say something like this is the socket ID. That is the sender's ID. Let's say user with user ID like this sent a message, and here is a message. Great. So now the user connected. Yes, we've connected, and let's send a message. Let's see. Hi, KodeCamp. Send it, and let's come to our console and see what we've got. Wow, user with user ID GNZQ would send a message. Hi, KodeCamp. And you see the ID changed because we disconnected and connected again. So the ID actually changed. So let's send the message again, and we'll see the same ID. Say, hello, KodeCamp. Send. Let's come to our console.
and look at the same ID because we've not disconnected. It's the same user that's sending these two messages. Okay, so what we actually want to do now is we want to display these messages in the chat room so that all the users connected can be able to see these messages. And you can create, let's assume we have 2 users connected to this application. Let's say we have another local host 3000. See, something like KodeCamp is great. Send. Come back to this one. You say, yes, it really is. Send. Then let's check our terminal. You see this, the user with this same ID, a different user sent a different user connected, and we saw a user is connected on our console. Let's say in our terminal, because it's on the server. So we're seeing it in our terminal, a user is connected. The user with user ID, the user that connected just sent a message, KodeCamp is great. The user with the user ID, the first user that connected earlier, sent a message again, yes, it really is. Okay, so now this is what is happening on our server side. We're emitting, we're listening to this chat message event. And let's see if you change this, if you remove this E. We talked earlier about events. So what is happening here is if you remove this E, this is no longer the same event being sent on the client. This is chat message. And if we give it a different name, nothing will happen. Okay, so let's go back now and send. KodeCamp is great. Now let's open our console and see. As you can see, there's nothing happening. But if you add back the E and save, come back here and say KodeCamp is great again. Then we try to view, okay, user with user ID to send a message, KodeCamp is great. So you have to be mindful of the event names for if you make a mistake. And let's remove this chat on the server and remove the chat also on the client to leave it as message, something like this. Okay, so that's wonderful. So what we actually want to do right now is we want to listen to the chat event being sent from the server. Now, these chat events are sent from the server. I want to listen to them. So what we want to do is we want to get access to this UL, these messages. So you see const UL, we see message lists is equal to document gets elements by ID messages like this. Messages, yeah. Then you come down here. Then you listen to the messages event from the server. It says socket on message, the message event, not messages. Then you take a callback of data. And this is a log data. Let's just log the data first. So we're listening to this. Now we'll have to view this in the browser because it's on the client. So let's open this. Let's send KodeCamp is great. Send it. Oops. So what's happening? Message on the server. Okay, so now we are actually sending this, but we are not emitting an event. We say socket emit an event of message, and this time around with we want to send back. Let's say we want to send back the socket ID and the message. That is the user ID and the message. In this case, known as the socket ID. Okay, so once there's an incoming message, we want to take this message and then broadcast it. I mean, want to broadcast it so that everybody can see the message. So let's come back here and enter KodeCamp is great, send it. Okay, so we're still having log emit, log, and nothing is being logged on our console. Okay, so what's happening? Let's check our server. This is a message socket on username, socket on message. Sockets emit message. First of all, we're not getting anything. So does it mean nothing is coming from our server? Send. Our client, I mean. Okay. Nothing from our client. And I think, okay, let's refresh this. Okay, so we no refresh it. Okay, so after refreshing, we have the ID and KodeCamp is great. And we can even do something like we remove something this, and we'll add a column, send this message again. KodeCamp is great, send, and we have the ID and KodeCamp is great. So that is actually sweet. So we want to just take this message and then display it in the chat room so that everybody can be able to see every other user's message. So for now, we're just logging it on the console, but that's not what we want. Okay, so now we'll come here and see const. There's a message item is equal to document create element. And the element we actually want to create is the list, so that we render it in the unordered list. So below the create element, you see, we want to add a class name to it, a class name and also a text content. So we say message item dot class name is equal to, we say bg blue. Let's just make it a bg blue 200, a padding of 2. And we'll make it a little bit rounded, say rounded MD, like this. So we added a class name to it. And then after that, we add the text content. We want to say message item. The content of this list should be the data, the incoming data. This is equal to data. Message item dot text content should be the data. So after this, we want to insert it into that URL. So we want to append child means it will appear below every other element. After if you add the first one, it appear on the top. You append the second one, it appear below the first list on ordered list. If you append another list in the unordered list, it will appear below the other ones that have been previously rendered. So what we want to do now is we want to actually say message. What do we have here? Message lists. Message list dot append child of the message item, like this. I want to even say let's just leave that for now. We don't want to scroll back to the top. Let's just leave it for now. Okay, so let's go back, refresh, and then see what we got once more. Hello, everyone. Send. And then as you can see, look at the ID and look at the message. Okay, so we can actually do something like inside of this URL, we can make it more fancy by saying, okay, instead of this URL, we should have 2 paragraphs. Okay, well, since, okay, let's just leave it like this. It's great. So now we'll go back to the other client here, refresh. Okay, they just joined, because if you open your terminal, you will see something like the user disconnected and the user connected. They disconnected and connected again. So if you come back here, okay, let's say they've connected and they say, hi. Okay, like, hi, did I miss anything? Then they will send. As you can see, they have a different user ID with hi, did I miss anything? So if you come back to this one, okay, we actually made a change. Did we make any change? Hi, send. Let's come back here. Hi, did I miss anything? You say no. Let's check back. Okay, so it's like they are not in sync. Local host 3000 and local host 3000. And if they're not in sync, then we'll see what's happening. Hi. Down here. Okay, there's no hi. Okay, so what's the problem? What's actually happening? Okay, so let's check our server. Message, oh, this is on the server. Message user ID with this. So let's actually remove this. Socket emit. Okay. So is there any other thing we need to do? Let's get emit message. Okay, so it's not socket emit, but it's IO. It's our server. This server here that will emit the message. IO. You just cross-check and see here is IO that emit, and this server that will emit are not the socket. Because if it's the socket, that means the user is actually sending back the message to his or herself, to their self, you understand? If it's the socket that is emitting the message, it means the user, only the user that will get the message. So that is another logic. So let's test this out and see. See hi. Without refreshing. Okay, so we see hi. See, hello, are you back? You can see the message here. I will come down here, we'll say, hello, are you back? And that's great. So with these IDs, we don't actually know who we are, who is in the room and who we are actually chatting with. So what we want to do is we want to not send the socket ID, but the username. Remember, we have this username, we have a user, we have assigned this username, and down here we say socket ID is equal to username. We want to take this username and assign to this socket ID. You see socket ID. You can do something like this. You can reassign the socket ID to the username, or we can directly send in the username. But we want to make it more robust, like we want to assign this username to the socket ID. So let's come back here and see. Oh, I have a username now. But then it's undefined. So let's say here, okay, let's say Sesu. Oh, we have not implemented that functionality. So let's actually implement the functionality. We will get access to, see, const, what did you say here? Chat form, yes, const, no, not the chat form. We actually join chat, there's the chat, the join chat form. Okay, what we basically say is, let's bring it to the top and say const chat is equal to document get element by ID of chat, and then the input is const. Here we have, let's just say join chat. Join chat is equal to document get element by ID join chat, like this. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to do something similar to this, but a little bit different. So we copy this and bring it to the top, paste it. Then we say chat add event listener, still submit and event prevent default. But this time around is the join chat value. Join chat value. Now we want to emit the username event, because this is a name we gave it on the server. You say listen to the username and emit the username. Okay, so that's the name. I want to emit the username event. I want to set back the value to an empty string so that we can be able to, type in a username again later on. So after doing that, we want to, I think that's all. Chat input value is join chat, which if not, we get different values. Join chat value and join chat value. Okay, we want to submit this form, but we don't want to submit it automatically when the button is clicked. We want to check if the input has a value. If it doesn't have a value, if it's an empty string, we will not submit it. But if it has a value, then we want to emit this event. And when we emit this event, the server will capture the event and will listen to it. So when emitting this event, we're emitting the event name and the event value. So we're sending the username and the event name. So let's see back here. I think let's just refresh this. Then we send Sesu, send. And let's try a message. KodeCamp is great. Great. Can you see there? We have Sesu, KodeCamp is great. Okay, so now let's come back here and let's just say this one, the username is Chris. Then let's see the hi, did I miss anything? Send. Undefined. Okay, I did not submit the username. And that is the reason why we have to validate. Chris, it has refreshed, send. And down here we have, did I miss anything? Send. Chris just sent, hi, did I miss anything? And Sesu will reply, yes, you missed a lot. Sesu just sent a message, and if you check, yes, you missed a lot. You have missed a lot, or you missed a lot, all the same. Okay, so this is actually working, but if we don't have a username, I will send KodeCamp is great. Okay, we have a username, but it's not displayed here. That's why we think we don't have a username. So how do we display the username? In here, after setting the username, before we set this value to an empty value, we get access to this uname. You see, what we say, we actually get access to, you say const username. Let's say username is equal to document get element by ID, not get animations, get element by ID uname. I want to say is username text content is equal to join chat value, like this. I think that's great. Join chats. So after a user enters their username and they submit it, okay, so now the server has access to this username. After it's been submitted to the server, we want to also display it and then show them that actually they are logged in. Okay. So after they're logged in, we want to, basically we want the server to give us the username. So this will actually work. Okay, let's come back here and do something like, okay, username Sesu, and we have the username here Sesu. Okay, but that's not what we want. What if we have an error? This username will still be displayed here, but then there will be an error. So what we actually want, we want the server to send back the username to us so we can display it. So what we want to do is we'll listen to username event. And then we see here is the username. And if there's no username, want to say join chat. Sorry, if there's a username, if the server actually sends back a username to us, want to say join chat disabled. What I want to add an attribute of disabled to the join chat input element. Was join chat disabled is equal to true, like this. I want to say username text content is equal to username, and we'll have to change this to uname because there'll be a conflict. Uname as a username, this is equal to uname. Username text content is equal to uname. Okay, so let's come back here and check if our functionality is working. We're testing it manually. We're not writing any unit or integration tests. So we'll come here and say Sesu send. Now we have a username. Now if you can see this input is disabled, no matter how you try to click it, you won't be able to enter another username. It is disabled automatically. Once we have a username, the input become disabled. So now we can actually say KodeCamp is great. We see our message. Say, hi, did I miss anything? Our message is here. And here, see, refresh this one. As you can see, this one is not disabled because there's no username. Enter Chris, submit. And this is automatically disabled. We have a username of Chris here. And here we have a user. Okay, it was previously Chris. Let's refresh it. I think we should use these different usernames. Here we have Sesu. Yeah, we have Sesu here. And oops, okay. So as we can see, okay, let's see. Now we've encountered another problem because in here we've implemented to our client to use usernames, and socket IO username is equal to user. So here we don't want the IO to emit username. We want socket to emit username. Okay, so now let's see if it works perfectly, and then we'll try to explain what we mean by that. Refresh, pass in username Sesu, we join. Come back here, refresh, pass in a username Chris, join. So let's see. Great. So earlier, we encountered a problem where we were using the socket to emit a message. And when we emitted that message, we'll use the socket to emit the message. I mean, only the specific user who that message is sent to that will get the message. So actually, what we want to do here is we want a username to only be sent back to that user that is connected. We don't want that username to be sent to every other user. So this is actually the user that is connected. So the username is here. We want to send back the username to the user that is connected so that the user will display it on the dashboard. And here we'll grab the username also as emit. We'll now want to send a message, but want to send a message together with this username so that every user will get access to this username and they view that message and the user's username. So in this case, we are generalizing this message. We are emitting this message to every user, but in this case, we're only sending back this username to the specific user that have joined our group chat, and that is awesome. You take note of all these things and anything that gets you confused. And it's also a broadcast. We have, if I don't want to say socket emit username, I can do something like socket broadcast is it emit. Then we say username. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. Here we have Sesu. Great, Sesu. Refresh. Here we have Chris. Okay. I think I'm mistaking broadcast for message. Sorry, broadcast, we actually send the message to everyone. Let's take a look at the socket IO docs. Where is the docs? Let's come back here and check broadcasting. Okay, so the next goal is for us to emit the event from the server to the rest of the users. Okay, that's great. In order to send an event to everyone, socket will give us the IO emit method. If you want to send a message to everyone except for a certain emitting socket, you have to, okay. So for the broadcast, this username will be sent to the rest of the people except you. So this is not useful here. I think this option is useful here, but not there. So in a case where we want to send message to every other person except you, the sender of the message will use broadcast. But we actually want to send this message to every other person, including you, so that you can see, it's a group chat, so you can be able to see your chat and the user, every other user's chat. So you say Sesu, join, and the input feed is disabled. You come here and you have Chris. Okay, we actually, Chris, join, input feed disabled, come back, input feed disabled. Okay, so you say, hi, I am in. You send, Sesu is in, then Chris will say, wow, I am in too. Send, Chris just send a message, Sesu just send a message, and everyone can see it. But you come here, Sesu is logged in here, and if you come here, Chris is actually logged in here. And there's another functionality we want to add. So now let's refresh this. Now we don't have a username, but if you try to send a message, we have undefined and we have a message. So this is a very, very big error. Let's assume we have a chat room of about 2,000 people or more or less, and different users are sending message. Okay, let's say I come down here, I refresh, and I send a message of, wow, no username, and I send, say undefined, wow, no username. You come down here, say undefined, KodeCamp is great, undefined, wow, no username. So the username is appearing as undefined. So what you want to do is, for the form, we want to check for two things. We want to see, this is the server. Let's save our server and go back to our, okay. We're checking that if there's a username, we want to disable the chat element, but we're not checking for the chat. This is the chat form and the chat input. We're not checking for the chat input. So say if there's chat input value and also there is a username text content like this. If there is, we want to emit this message, but if there is not, let's come back, refresh. After refreshing, enter a message, KodeCamp is great, and send. Can you see? It will not send. The message will not be there and nothing will be done. It will not send except you enter a username, submit, and send this message. Now the message is, wow, and this is great. We're gradually building up our chat application. So now that we have that, what if we don't have a username? We just want to let the users know. The reason why you are not your form is not submitting is this. Say else window alert username required, like this. If there's a chat input value and also there's a username content, if the username has content, we want to submit this message. That is, we want to emit this event so that the server will capture it and then broadcast a message or the message to the chat room. But if there's no user input and there's no username text content, if one of these is empty, that is, if there's no username name text content in here, this username, this is what we are looking for, this username, and we capture this here, it's here as username, get element by uname. We have a uname here, we captured it. Where is it? Yes, the uname. So if it has no content, it means the user is not logged in. So if the user is not logged in, we don't want to submit this form. We just want to say window alert username required. So let's test it out and see. See, KodeCamp is great. Send username required. Okay, that's great. Now the user knows that, oh, I'm not logged in. That's why they say username required. Enter username, submit, and then send again. Oh, KodeCamp is great. They will come down here. See, KodeCamp is great. Let's refresh this and do it with undefined. And now we will not and never have an undefined again. Come here, Chris, join. Chris have joined, and here is his username. And we can also add another functionality in our chat application and say, okay, username, we want to say IO emit username, I will say emit message, the message event with let's say username joined the group chat, like this. So we've added a functionality to alert the group that, yes, someone has joined the chat. So let's go back. Here, Sesu submit. Can you see Sesu joined the group chat? Come back here, and we can see Sesu joined the group chat. Oh, we say, oh, someone just joined. We're having an undefined. Oh, someone just joined. And why are we having an undefined after emitting username? This is username emit IO. Okay, let's refresh this and see. Join again with Sesu. Join. Here, Sesu just joined the group, sent. Okay, Sesu KodeCamp is great. And this field here is disabled. Hi, did I miss anything? Sesu have joined and is sending messages. So Chris is seeing Sesu's messages, and he saw that Sesu just joined the group. Okay, so now we want to alert users if someone has left the group. We want to say IO emit message, a message event with say username, left the group, like this. So in this case, let's refresh.
So in the process of refreshing, come back here and you see undefined left the group. Okay, so let's so send. Just we join the group. Let's refresh. Successfully left the group. Okay, so it's working as expected. Okay, and the reason why we are not handling it here, that once a user connected, we want to actually want the user to sign in first before we. If a user is not signed in, then we don't want to display anything to the other users because we don't want to show them an undefined. We want the user to be signed in first. That is the reason why we are not handling it here. A user is connected. This is just a user. We don't know the user's username. We want to have, first of all, the user to sign in so that we capture the user username, reassign it to this username variable here, and then send it so that they will know, okay, a user just joined. So this is the whole logic on the server, and we have a whole lot of code on our client. And in review, what we actually did was connecting our Express app to our HTTP server, and we're creating a new IO server with 7 static files. And this static file, it's actually from the public folder using Express middleware, the static middleware to serve this index HTML file. And once a user is connected, say a user is connected, but we don't know which user is actually connected. So say we create a username variable and we listen to the username event. And once a user is connected, the client here will emit a username event. The username event is actually emitted here. Once there's a value and they submit this form will emit a username event with the value of that form, and that value of that form is actually a username. So this this form will emit this event with the event name of username and the event value of join chat value. So we grab that here. We grab that from the user. We are listening to this username, and the username is coming in. We are listening to this event of the name, username, and the value that is coming in. And in this case, the value is the username. So we take this username variable outside of this place, we reassign it to this incoming username, and then we emit a username event with the username we just assigned to this username variable. And then we still capture that in here in our chat application. We listen to the username, and if it's not coming back empty, if the username is not coming back empty, we are cross-checking, we are validating it 2 times, or double validating it, because in here we say if there's no value, we shouldn't submit this form in the first place, but we want our application to be secured. So we are still checking if the username is not an empty string, if actually it contains a name. They want to say join chat disabled is equal to true. We want to disable the username input so that the user will not accidentally relog in with another username. Okay. So after disabling this, we want to assign the username to the text content of this element, this span element with ID of union. We want to display the username here. Okay, so that's great. And after that, after getting the username, we emit this event, and then we also emit a message event to let all the users of our application know that yes, a user just joined our group chat. User with username joined the group chat. That is a user that just joined, and we emit a message. If there's a message event, we listen to it. Then we grab the sender of the message. That is the ID of the sender. Every sender of a message has an ID. So we want to grab that ID and then assign it to this username, the username of the person that just logged in. So after assigning it, we emit a message event with the ID, that is the username of the signed in user, and the message sender with the message they just sent. Then we want to send it back to the client. So the client will listen to the emit event of message, then it will grab this message here and assign it to the text contents of this list item, and then it will add it to this unordered list here, so that every order can then see the message. Okay, so in here, if a user leave our group, we want to notify the user that, oh, this username, this person left our group. So you shouldn't be expecting the person to contribute any longer. The person just left our group. So this is the whole logic. And once more, let's go over our app again. And this time around, let's refresh this one. Let's say localhost 3000. And then we'll come here and we'll say username is KodeCamp. Okay. Refresh. Refresh. Okay, so we're having, what we actually do, once the tab is refreshed, we are getting undefined left the group. Okay, so that's great. We can actually handle that here, but I think that's unnecessary because we're not actually, this is not actually a login. We're just trying to understand how this works, but we can listen to, you can see sockets on disconnect. And then we'll take in a callback function. I think there's a message. There's no message attached to our disconnect. Okay, so we see or if there's a disconnect, we want to emit disconnect, and I want to see the user without username just left, something like this, and then we can come back here and just grab this whole thing, put it in here like this. Let's test it out and see. Okay. Okay, disconnect is a reserved event name on the server. Okay, let's see, we can give it another name of instead of disconnect, you can say this, and on the HTML side, you can also say this, like so, and refresh. Okay, so we refresh here, and we check here, refresh, check back here, and nothing, refresh, check. Okay, so now we have a username, sign in, says who just joined the group, send a message like this, Chris, hello. Okay, I say username required because I did not submit the username, submit. And then Chris is now logged in, and it is shown that Chris just joined the group. And then we send a message, Chris, hello. And there's no user here. Okay, so we are seeing how this is going, but I think we have to stop here because we have to add another functionality. And this application, you will take it further because there will be a task that you will be asked to add a functionality where if a user is not logged in, they shouldn't see this, all of this. They shouldn't see the group chat, the KodeCamp
is great. I mean, all the chats and the joint the group chats, username join the group chat and all of that. So if they're not, unless they are logged in, then they should be able to see all of this. Username required. There's a username, but this is for this field. Okay. KodeCamp is great. Send. Join. Okay. Once I join, you see Sesu join the group chat. Sesu KodeCamp is great. I just send a message, and you come down here and you see Sesu KodeCamp is great, and you come down here, you see KodeCamp is great. So as you can see, we don't need to make a request and then wait for the server to respond. This is a full duplex communication. If at all I have our application is hosted, I will try, and after this class, I will leave a promotional task for you, where you have to add these functionalities, where if a user is typing, it will indicate below here that a user is typing, and up here, as you can see, even if there's a username, if I try to submit this, it's showing username required. Okay, so I will do this for you. Instead of saying username required, say username or message, chat message required, like so. So we'll come back here, like this, send. Okay, I'll need to refresh this. Do something like login and send. You see username of chat message required. Hit enter, and then you know that okay, I send this. But if you still send this, you have username or chat message required, because this input field is empty. And then you enter KodeCamp is great. You send, and then you can see that I've sent a message here. If you come here, you see the messages. KodeCamp is great. So just joined, and you come here. You see, if you refresh this, you come here and you see username. Okay, let's say KodeCamp. Join. KodeCamp just joined the group. KodeCamp is great. Send. And here you can see KodeCamp just joined the group. KodeCamp's great, and all of that. So our chat application is working, but then in our task, you have to add more functionalities to it. Okay, so I think that's all about Socket IO. And you can see how efficient Socket IO is. If you want to build real-time chat applications, you go with Socket IO. And the most important thing here, I know you don't need to understand what's going on the client, but that's all right. That's all right. If you don't want to know what's going on the client, but you should know that this is how everything is handled on the client. We're listening to the event you emit from the server. All the the events emitted on the server are being listened to on the client. So you know how to emit your events and all of that. So we need to capture this event on the client, but I will leave that to you, and I will drop a task for you so you can implement all of this. So that's actually great. Let me remove this. Come over here. Remove this as well. Okay. So in review, we created the HTTP server. Then we attached our Express, and we actually there's a website socket IO. We're using Express to serve static files, and then every user that connects to our application, we log a user. First of all, allow the user to log in. We attach this URL to a socket ID. I think they will be able to know what's going on. So you can go ahead and ask. Any questions? Okay, so in absence of any questions, yesterday in our previous class we treated WebSockets. We explained what a WebSocket, how WebSockets work, when to use WebSocket. WebSocket is HTTP, and we built a minimalist real-time chat application with WebSocket. And today we discussed Socket.io, and we built a minimalist application with Socket.io. And in our next class, guess what? Boom! Performance optimization, and security. And we're going to be looking at asynchronous code, database queries, optimization. We already discussed about that, so we briefly discuss it. Memory management, caching, compression, load balancing, optimized libraries, profiling, minification, and bundling, using streams, monitoring, and logging. As you can see, things are becoming more and more interesting. So I urge you all to go make some research and make yourselves comfortable. So in absence of any questions, we call it a day. See you all in our next class. And I will be expecting a promotional task.